Davina Ware, your career transition coach. And I'm going to talk to you about a little something different this time, not necessarily focusing on career stuff, but this has really been on my heart to talk about because I've been experiencing it. People close to me have been experiencing it. My clients have been experiencing it. So I just wanted to come on and do a quick video about the turbulence in transition. Transitioning is not necessarily the most pleasant thing to go through, but it's not the place that we should turn around and go back to safety. I've been tempted to do that. And if you're feeling kind of that pain and the pressure of going through that, then you can relate. But I just wanted to go over a few things to help you feel validated or even to provide you some comfort and some insight as you're going through transition to help you until you get on the other side of it. So first, I want to talk about the turbulence. I'm a person, I don't like to fly. I do it often. And I mean, I'm not going to clown on the plane, but I genuinely and generally don't like flying because I don't like heights. So there's that. But of course, the scariest part of being on a flight is the turbulence because you feel like you're driving down a rocky road, but there's nothing under you. And so God had really just given me this topic of the turbulence of transition. We think that if we have an idea, we have a revelation, or where we've set our mind to something to go from one place to another. We're like, well, I'm just going to do it. I'm going to give it my best. I'm going to have grit. I'll be focused. And then I'll just be on the other side of this transition. We put it in the form of a task. And that's not how this really works. Sometimes there is turbulence. So let me just give you a really quick definition. Turbulence is the violent shaking or movement of air, water, or some other fluid. But it's violent. It's aggressive. It's aggressive form. Another definition is conflict or confusion. So as we're transitioning to a new place, especially coming out of the wilderness, there will be these rough patches of turbulence. I don't know why or where we got this from, where we think that if it's not a walk in the park, something is wrong. And that's not the truth. That's not the case. By the way, before we get too deep into this video, don't forget to subscribe to my channel and hit that bell to be notified every time I post a new video. I love chatting with you and I love when you chat back with me. So let's just stay in touch. Why does turbulence happen? A lot of us, when things occur, we say, why is this happening? Or maybe I'm just speaking to myself or for myself of like, I used to ask, growth and maturity, why is this happening to me? Why am I experiencing this? So why does turbulence happen? Especially when you're in this period of transition. If I'm looking down, it's because I wrote down some notes. So just work with me. For one, there's friction, even in the air. So when a plane is taking off and you feel a little bit of turbulence, there's friction in the air. And for you personally, as you decide to embark on a new path, journey, what have you, there's going to be some friction between where you are, your thought patterns, your routine, your friends, between that and where you're being led to go. That is automatically going to create some friction in your life. And friction is not comfortable, right? It's just as if you rubbed your arm against the bark of a tree. That's some friction. That's going to cause some pain, right? It's not smooth. So just know that it's part of the package of transitioning is to experience some kind of friction leaving one place in your life and going into the next, going into the new. Then there's the intensity, same as when the plane is going up. So it's experiencing wind, especially that's coming in a different direction. There's the friction there, but there's also the intensity of how the air around the plane is blowing. Same for you. Maybe you're making a really big step towards something very different than you've ever done before. Well, that big step, even if it's just a mindset change, even if it's you deciding not to say certain words, or you deciding not to look at something negative, or you plan to move to a different place, or you plan to invest in yourself in a way that you know is not going to sit well with your circle, or people in your family are not going to support you. That can be intense depending on how deep and how impactful your transition is. There's some intensity that comes with that, which creates an extra sense of pressure. And that's where the turbulence is coming from. And then the last reason why turbulence happens is external conditions. So in a plane, when you're flying, if you're flying over mountains, you can be experiencing that. Or the pilot is trying to go over a storm, you can experience turbulence. These are things that are out of their control, just like there are things in life that are out of your control. The pandemic was out of everybody's control, right? So of course that caused turbulence in your life and in the direction that you were trying to go to. And in some places, some people had to completely pivot. There's other external things that can happen. Maybe you lost someone. I just recently lost my grandmother, completely out of my control. But of course, that affected my transitioning process. That added an extra sense of pressure, amongst other things. And we can't avoid that. And we also can't live life like this, trying to brace ourselves so that we can minimize external conditions that, they're going to happen anyway. So you just have to know that it's part of the process, that these things cause turbulence. Even the best pilot that ever walked this earth cannot avoid turbulence, and neither can you. I also want to make a distinction between movement and turbulence or transitioning. Sometimes we think, well, I'm moving forward. I'm doing all of the right things, and I have this down pack, and I'm doing the things that are right, good, or supposedly in their place. That's movement. Me moving my arm from up to down, that's movement. It's changing physical location. Me doing this with my hand, how I move, that's movement. But that doesn't include your soul moving. That's not personal development that's happening. It's just our physical changing of location. Busyness is technically movement, but that's not transitioning, so to speak. You're just busy. You're doing all the things, but you can be doing all the things and essentially staying in the same place. So don't confuse movement with actual transition. Transitioning is a process. It's not just physical movement. I mentioned it's a process that's assigned to a time period. Processes happen in time and normally in tandem with other things. If you are transitioning, of course, career transitioning, right? Or just allowing yourself to grow and mature, to be the person you've envisioned yourself to be, or to be the person that's necessary to be an influence and authority, to live in joy, happiness, and peace. That takes a transition. It's a process, and it can't necessarily be rushed. When we plant a seed, I mean like physical seed, like if you're growing flowers or things, you can't necessarily rush the growth of that plant. If you're a scientist or whatever, if there's some accelerants that you can use, sure, but it's still a process. It's not an automatic thing that happens. So you have to allow the process to be the process. Yes, it can be uncomfortable. Just like me sitting on a plane when there's a lot of turbulence, I'm extremely uncomfortable. But I know at some point that plane is going to land and I'm going to get to my destination. Same thing that happens in the process of transitioning. Transitioning also involves your condition changing. Your heart is changing. It's a reshaping. It's a cutting away of layers of old things, of whatever's not working for you, friends, people, jobs, even leaving jobs that you could have been in for 10, 15 years. That's a process, a letting go, a release that's involved within that. So with transitioning, you're shedding the old and you're never returning to that state again. So just make it a point to not confuse. I'm doing things, I'm moving, the days on the calendar are changing, the clock is changing, but that doesn't mean it's transitioning. And give yourself some grace. First of all, be happy, because a lot of people don't submit to the process of transitioning because they don't want to change. So know that if you're transitioning, you're on your way somewhere. And don't get discouraged by it. It's not a walk in the park. It's not for the faint at heart. But here's the thing, at the end of it, your heart will be strengthened. You will be a better person who's able to overcome obstacles more quickly, who's able to protect their peace, to instill boundaries, all of these great things. In John 16:33, Jesus said that in this life, we will have trouble, but be of good cheer because I have overcome the world. Jesus said himself, we're not gonna not experience trouble. He's Jesus and he experienced a lot of trouble. So that means that you will occasionally as well, but be of good cheer. Don't let this transition process beat up on you. That's not what it was designed to do. Especially in a wilderness season, it was designed to make you a warrior. A warrior. Turbulence is part of this process, partially because we live in a fallen world. It just is what it is. It's a fallen world. We hear this is what it is. But it's not uncommon. So if you ever felt alone, going through something that it seems like no one else is going through, it's not true. It just may be at a different level than you, maybe at a different intensity than you, or maybe in a different area of life than you. But the wilderness was meant to be a solo journey. You'll find people on the way, purpose partners, if you will, who can relate and may be walking in a wilderness themselves, but we're all walking on these separate paths. But it's not uncommon. Don't get discouraged. Don't feel like it's only you. Don't feel like you're going to be here forever. It'll only be that way as if you rebel. So don't rebel. Just go through it. Submit. Allow the trial to have its finishing work so that you are complete, whole, and lacking nothing. That's in James. I forget specifically what verse, but don't rebel against the process. Don't just say, I'm going to fix it. I want to do things my way so that I don't have to deal with this turbulence. It will circle back around again. So don't rebel against it. Don't pity yourself. It's okay to feel upset or maybe like you don't deserve something, and that might be true, but don't sit and pity yourself. That's not gonna speed up your transition process at all, and you don't want to be on the other side of it, trying to get to the promise, trying to get to the goal, and you're not a pleasant person. That's not going to help you in the long run. And then most importantly, just don't give up. Don't give up. I've gone through, it feels like ongoing transition. If I could be completely clear, I feel like ever since I was 20, I've been going through an ongoing transition, but it just was necessary for me to get old patterns, bad patterns, worldly patterns, things that didn't allow me to shine, to be who I was created to be, and to be the person who was equipped to serve other people, that I had to transition, but it wasn't the same transition. So now coming out of it and being on the other side, it's a lighter journey. I'm a better person, much better than who I thought I was, like complete and already like awesome and good a couple years ago. And I don't say that arrogantly, but when you feel like, okay, I've reached a good place, but there was still more work to be done. So just let it be done. There's peace, grace, happiness, opportunity, and of course, purpose on the other side of that. So this ended up being a little bit longer than I expected, but I hope that you got something out of it, that there's sometimes turbulence in the transition, but just like a flight that lands, at some point it'll be over and you'll be on the other side of it. All right, thanks for hanging with me. Check out some of my other videos that I have on spiritual development, personal development, and of course, career transition. And I will see you in my next video. But if you'd like to check out some other resources, I just released a blog called It's an Employee's Market, Now What? So if you are ready for that career transition, right now is the time to do it. Don't sleep on it. This window of opportunity is not gonna be here forever. And I do offer every now and then free career strategy sessions. So you're not just in a whirlwind applying for stuff that you probably have no business applying for. Let's get some strategy in your lane. And then also check out my signature coaching program, which is called the 90-Day Career Fix. Part of that transition of moving forward, being a better person, leaving literally everything else behind. That's what this is for. I'll leave all of those links in the description, and then I'll see you next time.